Welcome into Lipscomb University Soccer Complex for the ASUN Men's Championship game. Well, one of the leading up to the championship game, the tournament, I guess you could say, between the Florida Gulf Coast University Eagles and the North Florida Ospreys. I'm Sean Mernon alongside my broadcast partner for the night, Jaleel Anibaba. And Jaleel, it's always good when you can get out and you can see a soccer game, and not only that, but playing for something. But this is going to be a good matchup between two schools from down in Florida.
Absolutely, Sean. This is going to be a very competitive match. There's everything for both of the squads to play for. Obviously, they're trying to advance in this ASUN tournament here, and it's going to be a very competitive one, like I said, and be a very fun one to watch.
It'll be a lot of fun to watch, and we've got the opening kick just about ready, set to go out here again at Lipscomb University at their soccer complex. And it's under the lights out here. We've set for a 7 o'clock kick, a little 7:04 right now, so I guess it's 7:05, but beautiful night. We had a little bit of rain on and off today, but nice and cool, and everybody's just about ready to go. And there it is. Get things started, and the ball gets dumped down and immediately headed back towards about quarter field, and already we're getting some stoppage. Ball will be headed back toward FGCU's goal. North Florida with it. And there it goes down into the zone, and that'll get headed near side over into the corner, and that'll end up, let's see, rolling out.
And you can already see North Florida is imposing themselves in the game. They played a good set piece to the back post, and now you already see FGCU pinned in.
It's a good aggressive approach, though, right from the start here. They bail it in, but again, it gets headed out, and they'll head back to the opposite side. And now it looks like FGCU is going to clear it out of the zone, but North Florida once again gets in there and sends it back down in.
Yeah, and again, I think as far as this game is going to be concerned, there's everything to play for, like we spoke about just ahead of the match. And in these games, set pieces are always crucial. They're always crucial, whether we're talking about long throws from North Florida or balls sent in to the danger areas from both squads. So that's something to definitely pay attention to as this game progresses.
Already that ball out of bounds again. They'll throw in a little bit far ahead. North Florida ends up taking control again. So it's just a little bit of back and forth here early, Jaleel, as they're trying to just fight and get some type of possession here and maybe try and run a little bit of offense instead of it being a free-for-all.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the beginning of games, especially ones with so much to play for, there's a lot of nervous energy. You don't want to be the first one to make a mistake. You want to be the aggressor, and both teams are trying to figure their way out through the early stages of the match, and that's as to be expected.
Well, that ball gets back to keeper Micah Gunn, who boots it out and back out to midfield. Once again, FGCU trying to advance it back up towards North Florida's goal. Got to pass the midline there, and a little bit of footwork and a collision, but keep going. Now they clear it back out. It seems like the shorter passes are coming for Florida Gulf Coast over there, but right now North Florida just trying to clear it out, and again just trying to get it to their key players that they can really get something going. And obviously, these teams have played games that have been low scoring. You've got two good defenses out there on the field, so scoring is going to be at a premium in this one.
Absolutely. Both teams, like you said, are stingy in terms of what they give up. They're both teams that defend very, very well, and especially in a very competitive, hard-nosed nature. So it's going to be tough to unlock this game, quite frankly. But as games progress in the first 5 to 10 minutes, it's typically difficult to see which way it's going to go. And that's how it's playing out so far. Both teams are fighting for each and every inch of possession and space on the field. And as the game continues to settle in, we'll see which team holds more possession and is more on the front foot.
Well, that ball goes all the way down toward the goal, and Kistner gets it back out to his defenseman. They'll start to move the ball back the other way. near side, and looks like the Ospreys save it there, but not for long. That ball ends up going right back out of bounds. It looked like it was Dre that came over, was able to make the stop and get the momentum stopped so that everybody could get back on defense.
Yeah, that's good defending in the end by Florida Gulf Coast. I think anytime you're in your defensive 1/3, you need to make sure that you're attentive, you're putting out fires, and that's what we saw on display here. But again, another set piece for North Florida, and they have weapons as far as a long throw.
Now he can stack the box. The ball gets in there, but again, Florida Gulf Coast doing a good job of keeping it up in the air and getting it out of the box down there. There's a hard collision, though.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That is a very tough challenge there. Ludo Tom kind of came in last minute, and it was a little bit of an undercut. It didn't seem malicious. He was going for the ball, but that was a tough one there.
And I want to say that's Aiden Kyra that was down, but now back to his feet and starting to head the other way.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Kyra popped back up after a few seconds there, but that was a tough challenge for sure.
So they'll send it backwards. That's Windshower. There's a big boot right back up into North Florida's territory. FGCU starting to move the ball around again, and there it is again. North Florida just dumping it back the other way to try and clear the ball.
Yeah, and speaking to Coach Marinatos ahead of the game, he spoke a lot about their direct style of play. That's something that is bred into their DNA throughout the season, and they've really settled into that style of play. FGCU is going to look to possess the ball and move up the field a little bit more methodically, while North Florida is going to play a little bit more direct. We'll see which style of play will end up being, which one will end up prevailing, but that's what we'll look to see here.
How hard is it to develop an identity like that where it's that aggressive? Because I feel like in all sports, but especially soccer, when it's such a tight game, you really want to mitigate risk, right? But when you play aggressively, sometimes that leaves you open to things.
Yeah, one of the key aspects of their style of play that Coach Marinatos is so happy about is their ability to not only play direct, but repress in the offensive end, and also it allows them to not give up so many errant passes in their defensive third. So I think it's going to be a battle of two different styles, and like I said, I think we're yet to see which one is more dominant up to this point, but the game will show.
I mean, to your point, we haven't really had any shots on goal quite yet in this one, but it's been a lot of moving back and forth, and as you're talking, Florida Gulf Coast University, everybody seems to touch the ball. They seem to pass it around really well, whereas North Florida likes to clear that ball down and try and run underneath it. And that'll sail wide and go out of play. So it was a pretty heavy boot there, but just sailed the goal.
Yeah, that was a decent first attempt. North Florida, I should say, their wall did what they needed to do, and in the end, it was a errant shot, but that's the best attempt on goal we've seen from Florida Gulf Coast at this point in time. And like I said, set pieces will be a very crucial aspect of this game, especially when you have two teams that are very solid defensively.
And it is a long game, obviously. So by doing that, you're kind of freeing it up and seeing how the other team is kind of moving along. Now there's a boot that ends up getting cleared out of bounds, and so Florida Gulf Coast will pick it up and they'll throw it in. So they're headed back to our right here on the far side, and there you go, slips and falls. The ball goes out of bounds, and now it's headed back the other way for North Florida.
Yeah, again, this game is still not quite unlocked. It hasn't settled yet. The energy coming out of the gates, coming out of the locker room is very much on display, and again, that's as to be expected early on in this type of match.
Another change of possession there as the ball goes out, and I take back what I said. It looks like Kyra, as we get the update here, has had 2 shots so far in this match so far. So it comes near side. That's Senior that passes back. I'll move it back to midfield. Dre with it. Now sends it back to Rowan, and he clears the ball back over into the North Florida side of the field, but that gets headed right back into the middle. This is, again, it's a lot of guys touching the ball, moving it back and forth. And we talk about the long game. That's certainly got to be tough as a defender because you've constantly got to move to where the ball is.
Yeah, and that's something that it will be on display for for definitely Florida Gulf Coast defenders. They're going to need to be good in aerial duels, good in defending in the channel, as North Florida is going to look to play a little bit more direct. And what's going to be key defensively for North Florida is being good in the pockets, like so. That's a good challenge, and to be able to kind of disrupt the methodical play of FGCU.
Well, clear the ball all the way back down. Acuna was chasing after it, but that ball was just too far ahead of him. Now let's see. And now we've got another player down on the far side just in front of the benches for Florida Gulf Coast. And that may be, looks like that's Davey Alves again.
And I like how the head official Daniel Rashford is controlling this game up to this point in time. He seems to understand very well that in the early minutes of the game, you want to make sure you keep the game under control, maybe call things a little bit tighter than you will as the game goes on, just to make sure things don't get out of control.
Ball back and forth, a lot of heads and shoulders right now as that one's staying right around midfield, but FGCU comes out with control, and now they'll start to move it back and forth and see if they can find a hole in the defense. Right there's a bailout to Senior who goes down, and that ball ends up out of play. Get it back in. Dre again crosses it all the way down into the corner, but that'll roll well out of play out there.
Yeah, it's the second time we've seen FGCU try to hit that diagonal ball. It's Dre there on this point in time. And if you can unlock those diagonal balls, it's something that is difficult for outside backs to deal with. A little bit overhit, but that's something that obviously FGCU is looking to exploit.
They were trying to hit Giovanni Brown down in the corner out there, but he was probably a good 20 yards behind that ball as it curled down toward the corner. But he's certainly one of the big pieces of the offense here for FGCU.
Absolutely. They're trying to find his pace in behind, but it's just a little bit overhit.
Back out to center field. And the ball ends up out of play again. Going back to what you were saying about the officiating and just doing a good job of, how many times have you heard, in situations like this when it's a big deal, is the ball down into the zone, but nice slide to get that ball out of play and again help his team get back on defense over there. But was just saying, how many times have you heard, in big games, let the players decide what's happening and all that kind of stuff, and these guys are playing hard, and we've seen some tough collisions out there, but in a lot of instances they've let them play through it.
Yeah. First and foremost, good defending by Winshower there down in the corner. Because if North Florida is able to turn that corner, that's problems. And yeah, you're 100% right. It's important to let the game, of course, breathe early, but to keep the players under control, keep their emotions intact.
It's a nice save down there. Hey, Alves with it. He's got two guys to beat, and he's going to end up booting it up and out of play after a good defensive effort down there. It looked like that was Barfarosh.
Yeah, but that's a very, very good run by Davey Alves there. Although he doesn't get what he wants out of it in the end, that is very, very helpful for FGCU, for him to be able to drive about 80 yards into North Florida's defensive end. That just helps with possession so much. Florida Gulf Coast defenders are able to rest after defending a set piece. That's very good play there.
Certainly sets the table later because you're starting to get an idea of how you can work with that defense and maybe later on how you can kind of go in there on offense and where it might be the best spot to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I like that run by Alves, and it was basically a counterattack started out of nothing.
Goes Brown down the far side, but again, that ball is going to get out of reach and end up out of play.
Yeah, again, and we spoke about the importance of set pieces in these types of matches, and this is going to be the first corner of the night for Florida Gulf Coast, and if they can get something on the end of these corners, it's going to be tough. Obviously for North Florida, I think the service of Alves here is something that we need to definitely keep an eye on, and North Florida needs to be at high alert.
We have plenty of guys down in the box. Here's the corner. Giovanni Brown heads it back, and looks like North Florida will clear that ball all the way back toward the other side of the field, and that'll roll past the line out there. So another good defensive effort on some of these corners.
Yeah, that's very good defensive effort by Ludo. He's able to step out, anticipate the play, clear the lines, and get everybody up. He's been up to every challenge asked of him so far.
For Brown, that was a heck of an effort by him just to get a piece of it. I mean, he ended up trying to knock it in with the head there, but dropped it straight down, and there he is again. This time takes it off the chest up the side, and that'll end up a nice slide tackle there to get it out of bounds. But it's just so many guys down there in the box to try and sneak something like that in, and they're going to say that ball's headed the other way for North Florida now.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult for us to see all the way down to the far side, but I thought that would have been Florida Gulf Coast ball. To your point, Brown he's been active up that left-hand side. Obviously, Florida Gulf Coast has been trying to play him in the channel with diagonal balls or clip balls over the top. That's something that they clearly work on, but his ability to climb the ladder there and nod that ball back on the corner kick is going to be something for us to watch out for.
Ball inbounded over there. And looks like Brown has it again. He's trying to get past two defenders over in the corner and just can't do it as that ball gets out of play. So now we'll get another inbound over there, a throw in down near the box, and that'll get cleared back out. FGCU still has it. Here's a long shot try across, and that ball wide. Looked like that was Moorer over there trying to get down and get after it.
Yeah, but just shepherded out by Steigelman. It's good veteran defending there. Just usher the ball out of bounds and let your goalkeeper clear your lines with the goal kick.
So this is Gunn down there ready to kick it out. A big boot out past the midfield line, and down there a little bit of a collision. But the ball will make its way to Giovanni Brown once again, who gets past midfield, running up the far side. He's being really chased over there. On defense, I believe that's Bryson Smith. He's able to get that ball out. There's another throw, and Smith once again gets it out. Another clear back into FGCU territory, and a couple of quick headers back out to midfield. No call there, and there's a boot back down, trying to get it down and in, but there's Kistner again. He's got possession, and he'll send it back out.
Yeah, and as we've passed the 15-minute mark, this game has settled down a little bit like we thought it would. And FGCU seems to kind of be the ones that are in the driver's seat, although Florida's trying to attack, North Florida's trying to attack at this point in time. But FGCU, their ability to maintain a little bit longer bouts of possession have allowed them to kind of take control in the match so far, and they've had the better of chances.
Well, Burka ended up with that ball and then sent it back over to Tom out of the far side, trying to make a move, head toward the goal, gets to the line, but that ball will get cleared out as he tried to put it back up the middle and see if somebody could get a shot.
Yeah, Smith tried to round the corner there, and again, Ludo Tom, to even start the play, broke things up and then was able to find a pass out wide to Smith. And you can see now that's the second time Smith has tried to round the corner and put a good ball into the danger area there at the top of the 18 PK spot area. So that's something to definitely look out for as this game progresses. Smith trying to turn that corner and play balls for cutbacks.
Now it's FGCU who clears it back out the other way. North Florida sends it back down to Florida Gulf Coast territory. There's Kistner again. He'll pick it up this time. Seniors down there, but we'll roll it back the other way to the far side of the field, and FGCU will start their trek back up the other way. That's Dre, and now the ball comes near side. Back and forth between Rowan. Got it back over on that far side, just moving it between three players. Now slice it back to midfield. There's Cuckoo who slides. And North Florida once again getting the ball up and out. It's just really been a battle of this middle third of the field so far.
Absolutely. And North Florida's identity is on display here. Their ability to absorb pressure, get back, get basically 9 to 10-ish guys behind the ball, absorb pressure, sit in their defensive banks, and then try to break with maybe one or two quick passes to maybe either spring a counter or to get a chance on goal as quickly as possible.
Steigelman threw that ball in to Kuna, who's still in the corner over there, battling three FGCU players who clear it out. Get it back toward midfield. Kyra with it. He sends it over. Now Alves has got it. Up the side, passes it up to Brown, tries to make a move, but again, a nice stop, but back out to Kyra, who's trying to make a move, sends it back down into the zone. Moorer ends up trying to take a boot and instead gets it cleared out of there. That's Bar for Ashu. Makes another nice defensive play with FGCU pressing the net down there.
Yeah, Barfrosh with a very timed challenge there. Last-ditch challenge. If he doesn't make that challenge, the ball's coming back across the face of the net for a tap-in, most likely. So that's, again, North Florida's ability to absorb pressure. Florida Gulf Coast had what you could call a counter-attack somewhat, and they had numbers going forward. But again, North Florida was able to absorb the pressure, and it's going to be up to them to defend this set piece again.
Got no score right now as the ball, corner kick in, and that'll get well defended back out. And there's a collision again out there as two guys go for the head. Oh, we'll keep playing on. That's Rowan who sends it over to the near side. Dre boots it back across for a cross. Tries to redirect it, but then North Florida once again just clearing it out, and a little bit of a mistime there. So Hayen couldn't quite time it, and that ball ended up going all the way back. Now they're going to have to reset. Send it back up the far side, right in front of the benches. And there's a little bit of room to run over there. He's going to send it back into his own side of the field. A little under 23 minutes left to play in this first period here. It's Brown up the far side again, trying to make a move. And we're told before the game, Brown was actually on this North Florida team last year.
And that can explain his ability to wreak havoc out there on that left-hand side. Just understanding the ebbs and flows of the defense of North Florida. But he's definitely somebody that FGCU is trying to isolate 1v1 and trying to generate the majority of their attacks down that left-hand side. But to be fair to North Florida, they've been up for every challenge so far.
And you could even just see it as they're going back and forth. This FGCU team has a couple guys that are just fast at opening.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been able to find themselves breaking on the counter effectively a few times. They've obviously are trying to isolate their wingers on both the right and the left-hand side, but predominantly on the left-hand side, and that's their speed and their ability to time time it when they're springing in their outside mids is something that they're looking for.
We get another stoppage there. Looked like a trip maybe.
Just kind of the legs coming together. Senior looks like he may have caught a knock on the calf or maybe a cramp or something like that. He looks like he's trying to stretch things out. but he seems to be limping it off and doesn't need a sub.
Still no score in this one. It looks like they'll spot the ball right there, and Florida Gulf Coast ready to get going. You know, this last exchange we saw, North Florida's started doing something that we really haven't seen, and they've defensively been pressing a little bit further than what they really have been so far.
Yeah, exactly. And again, as the game has settled, they've been in the driver's seat.
There's a long kick, but that'll sail and that'll end up over the goal.
Yeah, Alvy's being opportunistic there, trying to maybe, catch a gun off guard, but it was off target nonetheless.
It's been quite the jump to be able to pull that one in, huh?
Yeah, I've seen goals from further distance and in a more surprising nature than that. So I love it when attackers are opportunistic and they go for it, especially when people aren't expecting them to. I like to see it.
That's even as we were talking earlier about the way that these two teams are contrasted in styles, that's almost a page out of North Florida's book, because that seems like something, those long kicks and trying to just get the ball into a good position, that seems something that's more of North Florida's forte, at least here through the first period that we've seen so far, where FGCU is doing this kind of stuff. They're doing 10 to 20 yard passes, pretty close, tight knit. Now North Florida takes over, and there it is again. They try to dump it into the zone, and can't quite get it out there. That was unable to get there, but Burka heads it back into the zone, but now it's out. Tom trying to make a move and get in, but there's a good defensive play once again, and the ball's headed back the other way.
Yeah, that's very good defending by Rowan, because Ludo Tom was looking very dangerous in his approach there.
Another tight defensive play down there in the zone as Moore trying to get there, and then that hooks wide of the net. And once again, we get another shot, but nothing doing there. So far, FGCU is taking more cracks at it in this first period.
Absolutely. And Alvy's there, his technique was solid there. He was looking for that far top corner, seemed to have barely missed, and he's been the one that's not afraid to pull the trigger from distance, and that's what I like to see. And sometimes with defensive units that are as organized as North Florida's, that's the way that you can break them down.
The ball will be headed back the other direction after it came in, and Senior tried to jump up and drop the head on that one, and now we're going to get Acuna checked out over here. He's down to a knee.
Yeah, it looked like Senior just kind of took a inverted hand to the face, and he seems to be okay. That's 2 knocks in a row for him, unfortunately. He was down with the calf earlier. Now he caught a knock to the face, but he seems to be all right.
Right there, we saw our referee go out and talk to both sides. Looked like he was talking to Rowan off of FGCU, and one player off the other side just saying, if they're not on your team, don't even talk to them.
Yes, again, and I think
it's chippy, right?
Yeah, I think the head official is doing a good job to manage the temperaments during this game. Sometimes emotions can flare up, but he's doing a very good job, in my opinion, so far to make sure that this game stays purely about football.
And there's a little bit of history here between these two teams. They've played to draws here over the last 6 or so years, a handful of times.
Yeah, it's always very, very competitive between the two. And last time they faced off in the ASUN conference tournament, it was one where Florida Gulf Coast was able to edge North Florida, but North Florida feels like they got something to prove on this one. So there's again, like we spoke about at the beginning of the game, there's everything to play for here, and North Florida may feel as though this is a little bit of a revenge game for them. So it's going to be very, very fun and interesting to see how this game continues to play out as we get in the later minutes of the match.
Yeah, when you take a look at the history, North Florida hasn't won a matchup against FGCU since 2016 in October.
Yeah.
And two of those games, by the way, went to 2 overtimes.
Yep.
So you've really got most of those games have been close, but they've gone the other way or they've resulted in a tie.
Yeah, and like we've spoken about, they're two teams that are extremely competitive and extremely stingy. So most of the times it's either a draw between them, and that is
Oh, and that's in the
absolute.
top corner for a goal. What a shot.
That is an absolutely great strike, a wondrous strike from distance. And like we spoke about, sometimes when a team is very, very organized defensively, the way to kill them is to hit from distance. And that is an absolutely amazing strike. FGCU up 1-0.
There's a second chance opportunity there for Moore, and he gets it dialed in.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. You have to be happy for him because that's just absolutely excellent technique. Kept his head down, body over the ball, and is able to strike it into the top corner. That's unbelievable there.
It's a 1-0 FGCU lead here with 16:47 left in the first period. And now it's up to North Florida to try and respond because, as we've talked about, goals are at a premium in this game and in this tournament.
Yeah.
We know how good both of these defenses are as North Florida dumps it back down in, and looks like that ball's going to head out of bounds.
Yeah, like I said, you have to be happy for Mara there because as a midfielder, when that ball is bouncing out to the top of the box, your eyes are as big as they can be. And most of the time, players get overzealous and they lose their technique, but he didn't do that. Like I said, he kept his weight over the ball and found the top corner.
So now North Florida moved everybody up closer to the midline there to see if they can't get something going. That ball back into the zone and now gets cleared out. That's another really good defensive play out there, and it's headed back the other way. There's a little shove in the back, and let's see.
Yeah, the goal scorer Mara right there felt like he got fouled. Foul wasn't called, so now we have a throw-in on the far side for Florida Gulf Coast.
This is we've seen this has been chippy so far, and I think the more that we see the collisions and things, the more we're going to hear. The more we're going to hear the head referee trying to get control of the situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as goals are scored, as the game opens up, things may get even chippier because now North Florida has to come out of their banks. They have to go for it. They have to try to equalize, and they definitely don't want to go into the locker room 1-0 down. So I would imagine this game opens up a little bit more, and that may provide more one-on-one duels and a little bit more chippiness, but we'll see as this continues to progress.
It's a 1-0 FGCU lead. Just about 15 minutes left as it ticks down here in the first period. North Florida's going to get to throw it in from the far corner over on the left side of the field.
Yeah, Kuna all the way.
Each team has one guy back at the center line out midfield. Long throw in toward the box, and that one's up for grabs, but a good job by Brown to head it back out to the top. Let's see. Yep, FGCU gets to clear it out.
And that's definitely something that North Florida looks to. Yeah, it's a foul here on the near side. That's something that North Florida looks to exploit in the teams that they play, using long throws as basically set pieces, being able to get them into the box anytime they're in there attacking 1/3. And Coach Marnato spoke to me about their ability to throw numbers forward and create opportunities off those long throws.
Steigelman's the one who boots it in. And again, a bit of a stoppage there, but everybody's headed the other way.
Yeah, decent service in by Steigelman. Defended well in the end by FGCU, but the far flag was up for offsides on the far side, so it wouldn't have mattered nonetheless.
Rowan sends it back to center. Dre moving over to the far side. Able to get it out. Now they'll send it back to the keeper. Wyatt kicks it back out. Cuckoo to the near side. Rowan moves it back. Again, just trying to move it around and see if they can find a way to free it up and get it up the field, and they do. Brown near side trying to make a move. He gets caught up, tangled up, and he hits the deck, but that's Burka who ends up fishing it out. But FGCU once again able to get the defense going. Now they're headed the other way. Trying to turn the tempo up here as the ball comes to midfield. There's Maurer again, who moves it over to the near side. Brown works it back to the middle. And another stop defensively out there. Looks like Acuna was trying to make a move and get it down in. The ball ends up out of bounds, though, so Tom has it. He sends it back down to Maurer. That gets cleared back out to midfield.
And again, you see Barsharoff just, being the one that is able to get stuck in when it really matters, being able to make a challenge that prevents either a goal or a goal-scoring opportunity. That's good defensive work by him. And Florida Gulf Coast, again, is controlling this game. They're using Kuku and their ability to maintain possession throughout their backs and then into the midfield to spring their wide players and Brown and company.
Really has been impressive so far as far as how much time we've actually seen Florida Gulf Coast with the ball. And we've seen they've taken 5 shots, been able to bury 1. They've only committed two fouls too, which certainly helps their case.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been in the driver's seat since about 15 minutes or so into the match as the game settled down a little bit. But it's also by design by North Florida. They're good at absorbing pressure and looking to hit teams on the counterattack. Unfortunately for them, Maurer was able to set the record straight and put Florida Gulf Coast up 1-0 by a great strike.
Let's see, we got down on the far side. Steigelman sends it in, gets sent back, off ahead, now headed the other way. Acuna tries to center it, but that ends up getting taken away. Now back in the other direction. Looks like we've got Angus Taylor in the game now, and he ends up just colliding there at center field.
Yeah, it's chippy. It's chippy in the midfield. Anything around that center circle, both teams are battling.
Back the other way, they try to clear it down into the far corner. Brown, a big boot back across the field, but that one will end up out of bounds as well. So that'll allow Gunn to try and get this ball in. We've got Scott Beeks, Angus Taylor, and Jalen Yearwood in the game right now for North Florida.
And always a coach is going to look to manage the end of a half, the end of a game, very wisely. And for North Florida, it's about trying to get back into the game, trying to equalize at this point in the match. And for Florida Gulf Coast, it's about keeping the scoreline at least where it's at, looking to maybe go up to 2-0 if they can. But what is going to be very, very important for the changes that have just come into the matches, how do they affect the game? For those changes of North Florida, it's trying to equalize, and those of Florida Gulf Coast trying to continue on what their side has done so far.
Certainly, with just under about 9.5 minutes left here in the first period, trying to keep some legs fresh too by circulating some guys in. FGCU singing Aiden Jacumba and Landon Amaris, and so you get some fresh legs out onto the field.
Absolutely. And with just under 10 minutes left in this half, obviously there's still so much to play for. There's still a whole another half to go after this. The game, like you spoke about earlier, is a long one. So just because Florida Gulf Coast is up now 1-0 doesn't mean that they should be taking their foot off the brake. Or off the gas, rather.
Definitely don't. You want to take the foot off the brake, right?
Exactly.
It's a little early to have it on there.
Absolutely, off the gas, rather.
Not to mention that, but for one of these teams, the ride home, that's going to be a long. That's not a short trip.
No, it's not. So, whichever team is able to come out the victor, it's going to feel like a shorter trip. That's for sure.
And then, of course, the winner of this game will take on Lipscomb University on Monday. That'll be a 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock start to that game.
Yeah, and both these teams are very focused on what's going on here, but that's definitely a matchup that is going to be one that either team, whoever comes out the victor tonight, will be very poised to take part in.
A long boot Florida Gulf Coast's keeper, Kistner, now dumped down into the zone. North Florida trying to get it. Now that ball off the foot and into the goal. It looked like for a second. Well, let's see. So, is that Jacumba that was down there doing it? But it looked like he had reached up and maybe, I don't know, it looked like that ball got redirected back down into the ground, and so no goal on that one.
Yeah, it was Jacumbo. He was able to obviously get in behind, wreak some havoc off the short pass back to the goalkeeper. He was able to nick it, but the AR here on the near side had his flag up. It's difficult to say if it was for offsides on the initial play. We don't have replay, or if it looked like maybe a potential handball. So nonetheless, the goal doesn't count, but those are reminiscent of the chances that FGCU has had throughout the match. Earlier, it was Brown being sprung in on that far left-hand side. It's Jacomba as he's come into the game, and it's definitely something that is a threat for Florida Gulf Coast to be able to play into these channels and cause some opportunities pretty much out of nothing.
We've got about 6.5 minutes left here in the first period as that ball gets sent up the line, and let's see here. Looks like Acuna with it, trying to work back into the zone, but that ball get cleared back out towards center field. And
that's what we've seen a lot of from Florida Gulf Coast. Clip balls into the channel, making the outside backs of North Florida defend. Steigelman is up for the challenge there, but when a team is constantly putting outside backs under pressure, putting them in 1v1 duel situations, sometimes it's almost a matter of we're going to keep throwing things at this dam and seeing when it breaks. So it's going to be an aspect of the game that we're going to continue to see, and case in point.
now ball back down into the zone. Looks like that's Amorous with it, and that gets cleared back out. That's fought through. North Florida trying to get rid of it again, and they do. Now toward midfield. That's Rowan trying to center it back. Cuckoo with it, but let's see here.
Cuckoo got bailed out there by a foul, in my opinion. If the ref doesn't call that foul in Cuckoo's favor, then North Florida is in there breaking on the counter.
It was out there with him. That was Angus Taylor.
Yeah, Angus does a good job to stick with the play. It was a little bit rough, so I understand the call, but like I said, I feel Cuckoo got bailed out there.
Now Taylor back at it, and he almost took that ball right down toward the goal. Instead, Florida Gulf Coast able to get back with it. Send it back up the near side. It's back out to the center, but North Florida will take control and send it back. But right now, when they're sending those balls deep into the zone, I mean, you've got 1-on-3 situations by the time North Florida gets there. It really hasn't been, that clearing style hasn't really been working out for them here in the first period.
Yeah, it's been tough for North Florida to get any type of substantial time on the ball.
It is worth noting, out of the 8 goals that they scored this season, only one of them came in the first period.
Yeah, of course. They are a team that likes to grow into games. As far as second half, they try to catch you for sure. And their style of play can wear teams down when they're constantly playing direct in the channel, making teams defend. But what is playing out tonight is that FGCU is having the majority. They're winning the possession battle very clearly, and it's pushing North Florida so far back that when they clear their lines, like you said, it's 1v3 or 1v4, and then Florida Gulf Coast is just able to continuously attack and attack and attack.
Dean Walker's coming in for North Florida here. We've got 3.5 minutes left in this first period as North Florida trying to find a way to get this thing even before they get that break. Right now it's 1-0 Florida Gulf Coast. This ball gets sent back up this near side to us here, and there's the keeper coming out, Kistner, who's able to slide and get there.
Yeah, that's a good step by Steigelman there in the midfield. He's able to play Beeks. Beeks plays one down into the channel. Unfortunately, it was a little bit too strong, but that's North Florida style. They're looking to defend well, pick you off, and then try to hit you in the channels. And for me, Florida Gulf Coast just needs to continue to stay sharp on the ball. If they if they lack and stop paying attention to their detail in their build-up, it could be problems because North Florida is obviously advantageous on the counter.
Now, do you think going into the half here in a few minutes, do you think that we could see a change up in any of the styles as we get a little bit of a tie up down there? Was it inside of the box there?
Now I look just outside of the box. I think we're going to have a free kick. Oh, it looks like the ref is pulling it all the way back to the initial foul, which is about um, halfway into Florida Gulf Coast defensive half here. Um, but to your earlier point, I think there's always a possibility that teams can switch things up as the game goes. But I feel a side like North Florida isn't going to really switch up their play. They're going to try to stick with what has gotten them their success up to this point in time, which is trying to play a little bit more direct because the game is only 1-0.
Now this ball bailed down in near the net, but that ball would get right past the goal, just outpaced the forwards just a hair there.
Yeah, it was a good look. It was a good look. Sometimes you can find that little connection on the back post for maybe another late across pass in front of the face of the goal, but it was just a little bit too strong. But I like that idea there by North Florida.
Especially the ball control to be able to curl that ball back that way and see if you can get a free run at it.
Yeah, that's good service.
Gulf Coast clears it, and there is 1 minute remaining in the half. And Florida Gulf Coast with another run up the far side, but a great defensive play to knock that ball out and stop everyone and everything from moving around out there. It's like it was Onwumir able to get there and make that stop. So now Florida Gulf Coast inbounding. They throw it in and got 20 seconds left. Florida Gulf Coast can give it one last boot, see if they can get something going. North Florida able to get it out. And it looks like we are headed to the half. It's 1-0 Florida Gulf Coast over the University of North Florida. Jaleel, that was about as much action as you could handle there. Not a lot of stoppages either.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a good half. Both teams stuck to their true styles of play. Florida Gulf Coast was the better of the two teams in the first half for sure. They were able to maintain more possession. They had more chances on goal, but it was a good first half, and the second half will be just as exciting, if not more.
We've still got plenty of soccer left to play out here at the Lipscomb University Soccer Complex. We'll be back for the second half in just a little while, but this is the ASUN Men's Soccer Championship right here on YouTube.
keep the ball or if they look to play a high-octane style and try to score more goals in this second half. And, of course, from North Florida, we're looking to see how they are able to claw their way back into this game. And to start this half, they're already in Florida Gulf Coast attacking half, and they're looking for a long set piece here that they like to call because they're so good with their long throws.
Well, let's see what they decide to do here. Seems like everybody's lined up over on the back side. The throw come from the near side. There it is. They start to fill in, and well, that's a great play over there by the goalkeeper for FGCU, Wyatt Kistner, who came flying in and picked it up, but looks like we got a whistle down there.
Yeah, good initial effort by Kistner. It looked like he grabbed the ball out of the air, obviously, but he may have stepped out of bounds because we have a North Florida corner kick here.
So now we get another look at it.
Yeah, and the service from Steigelman here, very dangerous. He was going to whip this ball with his left foot and hoping one of his teammates can get on the end of it.
Well, here it comes, and that one just gets deflected as it looks like Kistner just flew right up and was able to deflect it with his right hand.
Yeah, I like Kistner rather, his aggressive nature to come and command his box and command his 6-yard box. That's what any defender is looking for their goalkeeper to do, especially when Steigelman puts in such dangerous service right on his head there. He's able to just flick it out for another North Florida corner kick.
And the athleticism as well to get it in there. So you got Masker over in the corner ready for the kick. He sends it in. Curving back, and looks like FGCU able to get there and clear the ball, but it's headed out of bounds, and so North Florida looks like they'll be ready to inbound again. Immediately someone comes rushing over. And now we wait.
Yeah, but here we go. This is
right down in, but right into a whole group of mostly FGCU players, and that ball ends up out of play.
Definitely, it's what North Florida looks to take advantage of. Anytime the ball goes out and they're attacking half, especially they're attacking 1/3, they know that they have great long throws from multiple players on their squad, and it's a dangerous situation where they try to create havoc and confusion in the 6-yard box.
So here we go again. Ball has stayed down that side most of it. Here's a kick, and boy, that's another good that's a great defensive effort. That ball was on the money. If nobody's in there, I mean, if nobody's there, that ball's probably in the net.
Absolutely. You have to be brave there. Anywhere in that 18-yard box when balls are being sent in, but especially on that near post, and Florida Gulf Coast is up to the challenge. That's going to be, in my opinion, the crucial way that North Florida is going to be able to claw their way back into this game via set pieces.
Now we'll get FGCU headed the other way. And not only that, but officially, North Florida took just one shot in that first half. And so you certainly have to think that that's going to be another important piece is they always say in sales, the more calls you make, the more chances you have to convert. And at the same time, with this, you could say the same. The more shots you take, the better chance you have of scoring, right?
Absolutely. You got to shoot your shot. You don't shoot, you don't score, And now it's something where Coach Marnados has been able to galvanize his team out of the locker room. We saw at the beginning of the game in the first half, the first 5 to 10 minutes is where North Florida had their best run of play, and that's proving to be the same in the second half here. If they are able to continue with this style in terms of keeping Florida Gulf Coast on their back heels, it's going to be a more even second half.
Now, UNF has made 2 changes coming out of the locker room here into the second half. Looks like Jake Schaffstall is in for Scott Beeks, and then Braden Masker's back in for Angus Taylor.
Yeah, Schaffstall looking to help anchor the back line. And, changes, again, are something that are always crucial in a game of this magnitude.
There's a header down and in near the net, but not going to be too difficult of a stop there for So the ball gets to midfield and sent down, and it's Acuna over in the corner trying to scramble over there with Windshower. This is, it must be just the side of the field because we've seen North Florida with a little bit more possession during this half already here than we saw for most of the first.
Yeah. Like I said, one thing that we've picked up from this game is they start the game in the second half very, very well. They come out of the locker room strong, and this is something that obviously Shopstall brings to the squad, his long throw.
It goes in, gets bounced out. Down there in the corner, that's, well, let's see, that ends up trickling out of bounds. That was Alves trying to work in the corner, but it's going to stay North Florida ball.
Yeah, and this is something that FGCU is going to be looking to defend well, because this is an aspect of the game that they're going to continuously have to deal with.
Throws it right down in front of the net, but that ball gets rejected again. A couple of headers, but ends up out of bounds. And those are really difficult to control as it is, and so to try and go back-to-back on that is just, it'd be an incredible goal if you could redirect it that way, but that's a tough ask.
For sure. It's just a matter of getting a little flick on goal, getting the ball redirected toward the goal. Kistner has been aggressive coming off his line, which is needed in those circumstances, and you also need your defenders to be marked up. But that's what North Florida is looking to do. They look to put you under pressure via their long throws and their set pieces, and Florida Gulf Coast wants to keep this score line where it is. They need to continue to be up for those challenges.
Mord sends it down to Brown near side here. He's looking for somebody to get the ball to, and instead moves it back. There's Dre moving it back near midfield. Now Cuckoo has to get rid of it. And that ball's going to end up down in front of the keeper. A long boot. There's another head to stop the ball. Good job by North Florida to try and get things going. That's Jalen Yearwood that's still out there. There's, we're going to keep playing on, though it looked like Acuna wanted something to go on there.
Yeah, the ref waved that one off, I think rightfully so. It looked more like a slip there than anything, but I felt like that was a good no call. But to what we spoke about in the first half, this game has the ability to get very, very chippy between these two sides, and this half to me has gotten a lot chippier than the first half.
Well, FGCU clearing it down, and well, that's actually a really good pass, but just overrun out there by Senior. He's able to track it down though in the corner before it gets out of bounds. Now trying to work back, and he just boots it right off the shins, and looks like it'll still be Florida Gulf Coast University ball out there.
Yeah, very, very good diagonal ball by Dre. He's able to find Senior out on the far side, and that's something that Florida Gulf Coast did very, very well, in my opinion, in the first half. They're able to spring their wide players via long balls or balls into the channel, and that's something that posed a lot of problems for North Florida.
Steigelman and Burka have really been hitting the corner hard out there, and so they end up sending that ball out of bounds again. Looks like Masker's headed over there. They get the ball out into the zone, but it goes right through to the opposite side of the field. A race to the ball, but it'll end up just out of bounds, and it's headed back the other way. So North Florida getting another opportunity as we see Kistner backing up over on his side, and Florida Gulf Coast getting ready to get back on defense.
Yeah, it's a good little turn by Alves in the corner to be able to put in a dangerous ball into the second six there.
Nice throw, and somehow, and I don't know how, but Dean Walker able to get his head on that and try to get possession, but instead Gulf Coast gets it and they dump it back down. Brown trying to race after it. We see that athleticism, but then there's a slide tackle. And
that is a tough challenge. That's a tough challenge, and rightfully so. That's a yellow card there.
And Brown is down right now, clutching the right leg there.
I hope he's all right in the end. That's a very, very good ball into the channel to spring Brown to make it a 1v1 situation, and the challenge is coming a little bit untimely, and now you have North Florida going into the book for that.
Brown, a fifth year He's originally from Jamaica. He's gone to St. Elizabeth Tech, and we mentioned North Florida earlier. Now finds himself on the Florida Gulf Coast University squad. He's back up and still trying to walk it off there. You could tell something not quite right, but he's really proven himself here, at least in this game, to be an impressive athlete. We've seen him covering all over. Now here's the kick. That swirls toward the net. That'll clear and get up and over, but we saw Micah Gunn. Now there's a little scrum, and we've got another yellow card here in front of the net.
Yeah, it looked like there's just a little bit of aftermath on the play there, and yellow cards are flying. You're speaking of Brown's ability to affect this game, and that's been on display throughout the entire game so far. His ability to cause problems for the outside backs of North Florida has been something that has really put them under pressure, kind of had them on their heels throughout most of the first half, and this was really the first time he was sprung in down the channel and drew a yellow card as a result.
It looks like we'll get a re-entry here as Dean Walker heads over to the sideline. By the way, that yellow card was on Walker, and so he has to go back over there. Ball comes into play, and they'll exchange heads there a couple times, and North Florida still trying to work it back down and ends up going out of bounds there. So Angus Taylor in the game for Walker once again.
And we see a little bit more chippy play on the far side. Looks like Schofstall came through the back of the play. It was a little bit late, and Steigelman is trying to tell the other captain, LJ Estes, to calm Schofstall down, just so that they can work their way back into this game. They don't need to see too many more yellow cards fly against them, because then you run the risk of players getting double yellows when you're trying to claw your way back into the game. But as we've seen the second half play out, it's taken the same trend as the first half. In the second half, as we're 10 minutes in, we see the game settle down a little bit more. FGCU take control. They're able to get a little bit more possession. And, North Florida has started to kind of struggle a little bit.
The ball goes back and right into the zone, but right into the waiting arms of Micah Gunn. So the goalkeeper waiting here. Now he's going to give it a boot. So there it is again, that attacking style offense, and even from there, I mean, that is every bit just about a 70, 75-yard kick right back down, and now North Florida has it again down in that danger zone that you were talking about earlier, and that's a good try by Acuna there, but took that shot a little bit late.
Yeah, North Florida's style, as we've been speaking about throughout the matches, they look to bypass the midfield. They don't mind at all. The team is fully bought into that way of advancing up the pitch. It's created a few problems for FGCU, but mainly FGCU has been up to the task in terms of defending the aerial duels.
Well, now Kistner returns another big boot, and let's see here. Looks like Kyra ended up on the ground. So we're gonna drop it there and kick from there.
Yeah, Bofferush came through the back, and it's just trying to win the header, but it's a foul in the end.
Just tried to chip it right down into the box, but that ball will get bounced around. Now here's a shot, but that's wide of the goal and sails all the way back into the fencing there on the left side. Just missed a bit wide.
Yep. And you see Mara again. He's not afraid at all to pull the trigger from distance. As he scored the wonder goal in the first half, and the first one, the goal that he ended up scoring was with his right foot. This one was with his left. But I like his aggression on the ball and his ability to let it rip.
A little back and forth, and now Brown sends it down. Let's see more. It's taken away, stripped, and that goes out of play. By the way, the yellow cards that we saw here earlier We did see the one on Dean Walker, but Anwamir ended up with a yellow card for UNF, and then FGCU got a yellow card for the team.
Yeah, there's a situation over there by the FGCU bench, and the bench was shown a yellow card. It's unclear exactly who it was shown to, maybe one of the coaches, but we've spoken throughout the course of this match that if not managed correctly, tensions can bottle over and it can be a problem. But again, I think the the referee is doing a very good job to manage things, brandish cards when need be to keep things just about football.
Daniel Radford, of course, the guy in charge here today, and he's certainly been vocal too, which we've seen throughout this game. A 1-0 effort for Florida Gulf Coast University right now, in charge, trying to advance to take on Lipscomb on Monday at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, the winner of this match will take on the home team, the nationally ranked side, and it's definitely a conference tournament that is going to be very competitive throughout each stage, and one that's been already very exciting in this match here. And as we continue to grow through this conference tournament, it's just going to get more and more exciting. The games are going to be more competitive, and of course with more at stake to play for.
You got a chance to talk to the coaches a little bit here before the game, and one of the names that we really haven't said very much and hasn't made I don't want to, we haven't seen make a super huge impact on this one is LJ Estes. We had talked about him before, and there were multiple people saying that he's really been a player to watch for this game.
Yeah, Coach Marnados couldn't speak highly enough about his leadership off the field, his leadership on the field, his ability to put out fires and to just be a straight-up competitor and an athlete. Couldn't speak more highly of how important he's been for this program, for North Florida. And to me, it almost seems like FGCU understands his defensive abilities and have been playing around him smartly so.
Ball headed back out, and FGCU ends up with control here. Move it back and then clear. Back to the other side, but North Florida trying to get it back across right now. It's just we're back to that midfield battle, trying to get it back and forth and see if he can get it a little bit deeper in the zone to run an offense. There's a big boot, but that'll go wide and end up out of play.
Alves looking for Brown on the far side. He need a little bit more English on that ball, a little bit more curl to it, but it was a little flat and went out of bounds. But the idea is there.
Looks like Bryson Smith will enter for North Florida. And Acuna is the one that's headed back to the bench. 28:45 left in this one. 1-0. Florida Gulf Coast on top. The ball comes in, and let's see who ends up with it here. The Osprey get it and start to move it. But Gulf Coast able to get a foot on it and get it out of bounds.
Another dangerous situation coming up here for North Florida.
So we'll watch as Skofstall tries to get it in from the near side. North Florida still credited with one shot so far in this one. There's a long throw in, and that'll just get deflected back out. There's a little maybe push in the back there.
Yeah, clear foul by Alves. He was just trying to get on the other side of Omre there, but it's a clear foul, easy call for the referee.
So we'll see what North Florida decides to do to get the ball right in the middle of the field. And boots it down, and that immediately gets rejected back. Steigelman, a firm shot down ahead, and that one a nice stop down there by Kistner. That was a good look right there for North Florida.
Yeah, very good look. Good positioning by Kistner. It ended up being an easy save for him in the end, but that's great service there by Steigelman from the far side. He's able to whip a ball in off his back foot about 55 yards or so. That's on an absolute dime. It's a great ball. But in the end, good positioning by Kistner and a good save. That's the best chance of the night for North Florida so far.
So Jake Scoffshaw stall got tangled up over there, and so the ball will be headed back in the other direction now.
Yeah, this half so far has been, for me, more even than the first half. As far as the ebb and flow of the game, first 5 to 10 minutes of this half, North Florida came out and controlled it. Then momentum kind of swung in FGCU's favor, but North Florida has been more on the front foot in this second half than they ever were in the first half.
We're 10 minutes, well, we're about 20 minutes in now as far as the second half is concerned, and still got that 1-0 lead. Florida Gulf Coast trying to get a win. The ball gets centered. Moorer sends it up to Brown, but let's see here, boxed out. Almamir able to clear the ball out, get it back to midfield.
That's very, very good defending by Almamir. If he doesn't time that perfectly, box out Brown, and play a very, very cultured ball up the line here on the right-hand side to keep possession, you could be looking at a 2-0 scoreline. That's very, very well done. And now on the far side, you have Schofstall coming up for another long throw.
Did you say a cultured ball?
Yeah, cultured.
I've never heard that one. That is fantastic.
Cultured, skill, finesse, perfect accuracy, and just the right weight. Cultured.
I love that. Do you have a trademark on that?
No, I don't think I need one.
You better get one, because I'm going to start using that. So we've got a throw from over on the near side here, but that gets rejected. And, oh, that's passed right up. That's a one-on-one headed back the other way, but a nice stop. A little bit of bump and run over here as Rowan tried to get up, and now we're getting more roughhousing over on the near side as the all-conference guy, Davey Alves, trying to find a way to maybe give Florida Gulf Coast some insurance, and instead the ball gets back the other way.
Yeah, but what I like the most about that play is we have Alex Barnett. He just subbed onto the pitch for North Florida. That's his first play of the game. He has to defend in the channel, and that's a crucial, perfectly timed challenge there he has on Alves, because if he doesn't make that play, he doesn't get that right, Alves is in on goal.
North Florida trying to work through a lot of Eagles right now. Ball dumped down in, back behind the defense, picked up, and that ball get cleared back out. That was Beeks trying to get down there and see if he could get a free look.
And Florida Gulf Coast is doing what any team should do. You have a defender in Barnett just coming onto the game. They're testing him early. They're trying to see if he's up for a lot of these one-on-one duels, and he's shown that he is so far.
Got a little bit of a tussle over here on the near side between Brown and Barfarosh, but the ball going back the other way. That's Smith down, a one-on-one against the keeper, and a great save down there by Kistner just to get the legs out and keep that ball away. Now it's headed back in the other direction.
And that's what conference tournament football is all about. You got a goal line save there by Kistner. That's just one-on-one what goalkeepers get their spots in the team for. It's what they get their scholarships for. That's what they say. They say people get the big bucks for when you can make those plays in these crucial games. And Kistner's up for the challenge.
He just earned his scholarship. That's what you just said. That's what I heard. Got another little shins clanging together over there on the far side.
Yeah, and as these two sides are trying to advance in this ASUN conference tournament matchup here, you're going to see them throw everything they have into this, especially North Florida trying to get their way back into the game. Look for the game to be as chippy as it's going to get. Look for, last-minute challenges. Look for, guys daring to be great out here, and that's what you want to see.
More to your point, a lot of times in these big games, you can usually, you think about your top moments, right? There's usually a defining moment in every game, and while there's been physicality and there's been back and forth, it looks like we're going to get to another bit of a tie-up here, and once again, referee will step in and try to maintain the order. But I was just going to say, there's usually a defining moment. There's a great play in every great win. Kistner may have made it there.
Yeah, that's very possible. That's very, very possible because an equalizer there for North Florida definitely changes the tide of this match. Kistner keeps it.
And
The
a
way
header
it was.
in. Wow.
And
2-0. Florida Gulf Coast, as they celebrate down in the corner, a great goal. Getting led in and just banging it in. That's Aiden Kyra makes that goal happen.
and that's an excellent finish by Kyra. Far post, ball played in perfectly into his stride. He's able to find the back of the net with an excellent header. And we were just speaking about maybe Kistner's save here on the near post 1v1 is what is the changing, defining moment of this match, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Now FGCU goes up 2-0 with about 20 minutes left in this game. It's a lot more difficult for North Florida to get in it.
Well, especially because North Florida hasn't. I mean, we talked about it's 8 goals on the season, 7 of them in the second half. Certainly, you can, it's not impossible to overcome, but scoring is tough for this team at times, and so they're really going to have to put it together here down the stretch. We've got 21:45 left to try and get back into this thing. Now down 2-0.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to have to throw the kitchen sink at it. Anything is possible, but as far as what FGCU needed to do to extend the lead, put this game further out of reach, that was exactly it.
That's just 2 great plays within a couple minutes of one another to really try and cement this. And now Florida Gulf Coast, they don't really have to change anything. They just have to keep doing what they've been doing this entire game, which is playing some pretty tight defense and continuing to possess the ball.
Correct. And we've spoken about key players throughout the match. Brown here is able to draw a foul on Barfarash, and then that creates up the set piece opportunity, goal 2-0. So it's been a very, very good game for Brown, even though he hasn't been on the score sheet, but he's created a lot.
There is that's a tough spot right there if you're Micah Gunn, because that was an in-between spot. You saw LJ Estes be able to get there and physically get that ball out of the zone, trying to go back, but right there it's back in, and a long try just wide over there.
Yeah, that was a good look there again by Alves. A good silky little turn. He's searching for that far post there. We saw him in the first half had a similar attempt with his right foot. This one with his left. But to your point there earlier on the previous play, I think it was smart for Micah Gunn to hold his position and trust in his veteran defender and LJ Estes to come up with a big time play, and he did.
Now we get it up the near side, and it was a good head to try and get the ball out of there for Florida Gulf Coast. Jaleel, how quickly does North Florida need to get on the board here with under 20 minutes left to keep this thing within reach?
Goals can come in very, very quick succession. There's still a lot of time left in this. There's still a lot in it. For them, what is going to be ultimately crucial is that they don't let FGCU get on the board again. If they go down 3-0 with 20 minutes left, it's going to be extremely difficult. But 2-0, anything can happen.
Well, it's pretty much max effort for the next 19 minutes and 17 seconds.
Correct.
You got to play both. It's both sides right there.
Correct, because your season's on the line, and like I said, North Florida, they're going to throw the kitchen sink at this, and they've come out of this. They came out of the locker room with a lot of energy. They obviously knew they had to do something to try to get their way back into this game, and I think they've had a good half so far, but you have to credit FGCU because they're able to find that second goal, which puts this game further out of reach.
FGCU, the 4 seed in this tournament, and then North Florida, the 5 seed, so certainly close as we get the ball back down into the zone. It looks like North Florida's going to be able to head back the other way with it, but what I was going to say is there's really kind of a separation there. But as far as in-conference seasons, very similar. You have a 3-2 and 3 club with Florida Gulf Coast, but North Florida 3-3 and 2 this season. And so certainly anything can happen, and that's the reason why they. This is cliche as heck, but that's the reason why they play the game.
Of course, of course, and especially conference tournaments. That's why conference tournaments are awesome, because some conferences is just whoever's at the top of the table at the end of regular season. That's who wins the conference and gets the at large bid. But in the ASUN, it all comes down to the conference tournament, and that's what makes things exciting, and that's what fans and student bodies love so much.
North Florida ends up losing possession there. Brown with it, trying to feed it in.
This
Now,
is trouble here.
This is a lot of trouble as Dre loses it and heads out, but looks like Brown hit the deck, and now we're going to get a yellow card.
Yeah, there have been a couple plays here with Brown and Barfosh getting tangled up here, and this is going to be another dangerous set piece for Florida Gulf Coast, and we can't really say it enough how much of a handful Brown has been, how many problems he's posed for the North Florida defense.
Absolutely, and when you take a look, he hasn't scored, he hasn't taken a shot, he hasn't had an assist, but I mean his imprint is all over this game, especially with Barfarosh, because how many times have we seen them kind of trading back and forth? There's tugging at the jersey, there's jockeying for position, there's physicality all over that matchup right there, and those two have stuck together the entire game.
Absolutely, yeah. Barfarosh is for me had a good game because he takes no nonsense, and
There's the kick curling in, and it's good. 3-0 Florida Gulf Coast University trying to punch their ticket to the next round. Up 3-0. They may have just done that with that kick.
And that's textbook. That is a textbook free kick with the technique, with the pace, with the accuracy, getting it to dip over the wall and find the top corner. You will not find a better free kick than that by Alves. You just simply will not. That's class. It's excellent.
Alves runs over to his sideline, getting high fives and hugs as Gulf Coast goes up 3-0. And this is a deep hole for UNF to try and dig out of here. There's still time, about 17 and a half minutes left, but that's the second goal of this half for Florida Gulf Coast, and they are just trying to put the cap on this one and move on to Monday.
Yeah, and North Florida's going to try to do everything they can to keep clawing at this game, but you really have to give the credit to Florida Gulf Coast. They've been clinical in their chances. They're obviously, they find themselves 3-0 up, and it's because of their ability to keep the ball, manage this game, defend the set pieces and dangerous opportunities from North Florida when they needed to, and they deserve to be in the position that they're in based on how they've played so far.
Well, you break everything down as this ball gets cleared to the far side. And there it is again. Gulf Coast getting a shot, but a little bit of a collision down there, and looks like that ball's gonna come back out. But I was just gonna say, as you take a look and you break everything down, Gulf Coast losing the foul battle right now, 10-9, but everything else is sort of in their favor. They've taken 9 shots to 3. 3 of those have been on goal. 2 of them have gone in.
Yeah, and like I said, they've taken their chances very well. They've been opportunistic at times. They've stuck to their style of play and trying to isolate Brown and company in the wide channels to create problems for North Florida, and it's paid off for them.
Looks like that's Hammond down for FGCU over there, and I believe that's Scott Beeks over there. I'm having trouble seeing the number, but
Yeah, that's Beeks. Beeks seems to come out of this situation a little bit better off. But anytime you have head collisions, it's one to be wary of for sure. And they seem to wave the medical staff on as quick as possible to check this situation out.
Absolutely, and so they'll go out there and check out Hammond, and he's back up to his feet. Let's see. It looks like he's going to come off. He's being helped off out there by medical staff, and we'll see. Florida Gulf Coast, who they'll send out here is a bit of stoppage here at 16:11 left in the second half, with a 3-0 lead for Florida Gulf Coast. So now they've got to figure out where the ball goes and where to start, and so they drop it right down and off we go. That's a rolling start if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, just a drop ball to restart play.
That's a big hit out there in the middle of the field. Steigelman took that one right to the chest as he went down.
Yeah, Smith and Steigelman, they collide there. There's nothing in it. Smith was that he was able to get something on the end of that. But now we have a deep set piece for North Florida. At this point in time, you would like to see North Florida throw more numbers forward. Sometimes when you're down 3-0 with your season on the line, sometimes you have to just throw caution to the wind and forget about shape and try to claw your way back into it any way you can.
Just get more guys that can attack.
Yeah.
That's basically what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe throw a defender into the front line, something like that.
There's a ball that trickles down, and Micah Gunn able to get down just before anybody gets there. So once again, 3-0 Florida Gulf Coast University looking to advance. They've won 4 ASUN championships. It was 11, 12, 14, and 16. Looking for one here in 2022.
Yeah, and the way that Florida Gulf Coast is playing, there's no reason why they can't go out and get another one. This is a convincing performance for them so far, and they're coming off of a win against Lipscomb three games ago. So it's definitely a place where they want to be at this point in the season. And if this result holds with 14:27 left, they're going to be very poised going into the conference semifinals.
Absolutely, and they've got a great record in the ASUN championship. They're 10-6-2, so they've certainly made some waves when they've been able to get into the tournament.
Yeah, and it's always best to obviously be playing your best football at the end of the season when it really matters. And we see a yellow card here going against North Florida. But it's always best to be playing your best football toward the end of the season and peak when it really matters. In the case of FGCU, that seems to be what's happening for them, and they've really been able to show what they can do offensively tonight.
Got another player down on that far side over there, very slow to get up, but there's no training staff or anybody checking on him quite yet, just teammates and a referee. But pops up, looks to be all right.
Yeah, Cuckoo caught a little knock there. He's basically directed the possession for FGCU, been kind of the point man in that 6 role, and has really helped them kind of command the possession battle here in this match tonight.
It's over in the far corner, and that'll end up still being Florida Gulf Coast's ball with a 3-0 lead. 14 minutes remain in this one. So ball gets inbounded. We'll see. Trying to go to that little baseline over there, a little header, but that gets through and back behind. That was another good look for Florida Gulf Coast down there.
Absolutely. That's a really good play out on the far side by Senior. He's able to kind of flick the ball up to himself, juggle it up a little bit, shimmy in between 2 players, and play a good ball into the second 6 area there. That's good play, and that's what you want to see even when you're up 3-0.
And Cuckoo just took it again there. It was Burka who came in trying to get some position for the ball there and came flying in, just landed right on his back. So it'll be Gulf Coast ball again. And FGCU ends up sending that one out of play. So, again, it's a 3-goal lead for Florida Gulf Coast. And if North Florida is going to get something going, it's going to have to be now. Down into the zone, the shot, and another great block by Wyatt Kistner.
Kistner's been balling. He's been balling very well. He made that last-ditch challenge to keep the game level, sorry, not level, but to keep Florida Gulf Coast up 1-0, and then that was kind of the momentum shift, the key moment of the game for us. And again, he comes up big.
There's the ball coming in, and that one just got past. Well, now Florida Gulf Coast trying to get that ball up and out of there, and they indeed do. Shumrin alongside my broadcast partner Jalil Anibaba. 12-13 left in the second half. Win or go home. Got a mile into the end of the.
They're knocking on the
Time. Over to the side.
I understand. Ball it.
Because
Um, um,
guys, looks like he's just trying to say, hey, calm down. Like, let's not do anything. The game got 11:25 left. They have a 3-0.
yeah, and that was the message that the referee was trying. With the absence of a stretcher, you don't want to speculate what the injury may be.
Absolutely. And it seems like you're giving our referee Daniel. Uh, things have gotten rough. I mean, this is, the stakes are high in this game for these two teams, and obviously you think about the seniors. I mean, especially North Florida has a bunch of fifth-year guys. You got some grad guys and everything, and so.
to a minimum. There's a lot of history between Steph control by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said, when it happened, I don't. Unfortunately, he was on.
Of course, Spartan.
Have Gilly coming into the game. The be sent out in the proper fashion. Yeah, that's maybe he'll.
Over to the benches there. It's
Yeah, it's been a little bit difficult for find have
and everything. The Kistner made, but made.
for sure. They've played a complete game tonight, in my opinion.
Simpson down there, clear back out. Cuckoo has it, sends it back across the field. Amherst over to the corner, now back to him, and he's going to send it back. And like we said, just trying to keep the pressure on, but also burn a little bit of the clock here and try and take this down. There's no need, especially with the way this game is, at least if you're Florida Gulf Coast, to take unnecessary risk. Why crash down into the box and everything like that? And, tight quarters and tough situations. How many guys have we seen go down there when you're at this point you're just playing to maintain your spot for Monday?
Precisely. You can even hear from Florida Gulf Coast bench there. They've been screaming, just keep the ball, maintain possession, and see this one out. And that's actually one of their strong suits is building through the game in possession, and that's something that teams always work on in situations and training. If you're up a couple of goals, how do you want to kill off the game? And Florida Gulf Coast is looking to do that via possession.
Well, it's strange because what we're watching for them to kind of kill that clock like you're talking looks very similar to what we saw in the first half, where they're kind of passing back and forth, not really playing keep away unless it's back in the corner over here, but more so just trying to. It's almost like something trying to attack. It's just waiting for its opportunity, and if it does, in this case, if they don't get it, they're fine with that because they've been running minutes off the clock when they get to the other side.
Yes, exactly. They've been able to control the tempo of the game, and they're going to be looking to do that. But North Florida is not giving up by any stretch of the imagination.
Markowitz down near the net, but he'll kick that one and it gets deflected out of play. So we'll get a corner kick here for North Florida again, trailing by 3. We're under 7 minutes left to play here now. Let's see what North Florida decides to do. They start bringing some players in, trying to stack the box 3 right next to the goalkeeper and in with the defenders here. Here's the boot. And another great stop. Wyatt Kistner has been unbelievable. Back the other way. They center it. And here come the Eagles. Up the far side. There's a little chip shot, a header into the ground, and a nice stop over there by Gilly for his 100th career save with North Florida. Back the other way we go.
That's what you love to see right there. 2 goalkeepers playing at the highest level right there. Gilly's been subbed on. You said earlier he's sitting on 99 saves, and he makes it an amazing save to rack up his 100th save in his career.
It's a great way for him to get into this game in a high pressure situation, and not only that, but everything going on down there around him. To see that little cross back toward the middle, and then for that header to get buried right in front of him and stay on it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a textbook kick save right there. He stands tall, makes his body big, and covers as much of the goal as possible, and his reaction was perfect.
Scott's down there trying to fight off for the ball, but they'll blow the whistle. Clock still runs. 5 minutes, 10 seconds left in this one here in the second half. It looks like Kistner's getting ready to clear this one out. Starts to try and align his guys, and now gives it a big boot back toward the other way. UNF gets control. You know, at the beginning of this half, really thought with the way that UNF was attacking that this game was going to be tied at some point with the way that they were getting down and crashing the net. And speaking of crash, there it is, little push there as Tom came in and trying to jockey for position with the ball, ended up bowling over his adversary, but it really did seem that way with the pace that UNF was pushing, but Florida Gulf Coast able to weather that storm and just go right back to the way they were playing in the first.
Yeah, and history would lend you to believe that this game was going to be a low-scoring game, and the scoreline would be tighter than it's proved to be. But you know, at this stage in the season when there's so much to play for, and just the sport of football in general, you really never know how the games are going to play out, and this one has been an exciting one.
Again, you have Florida Gulf Coast just trying to take care of that clock. 3 minutes and 35 seconds left. It continues to tick away, and they continue to just pass the ball. Most of it, I mean, you're talking anywhere between 5 to 20-yard passes, just back and forth across the midline. Then they go back, and they'll work it in a little bit here. Now down into the corner. Looked like they tried to get a give and go working right there, but now they'll clear it back out and keep possession the entire time.
Yeah, and this is now very good play from FGCU. They're keeping the ball. They're forcing North Florida to step out, which they don't really love to do. North Florida doesn't really want to step out of their banks, but when there's everything to play for with less than 3 minutes left in the game, you have to do that.
You have to start to, I don't want to say play out of control, but how about take more risks?
Absolutely. So it's been a very professional way to finish out this game from Florida Gulf Coast perspective. They've been able to maintain possession, come up with defensive plays when need be, and of course he's literally stood on his head today and played amazing. So the fashion in which Florida Gulf Coast has really finished off this game, killed off this game, has been excellent.
Here's another goal. That one ends up in the back of the net, and Florida Gulf Coast University piling it on here with just over 2 minutes left. This time, as we take a look, looks like that's Luke Peperak.
And again, just as we're speaking of how well Florida Gulf Coast has really killed off this game, we were talking about they were looking to do it through possession, but the best way to kill off any game is to score more goals.
That is certainly a way to do it. Now, the only problem, if you're Florida Gulf Coast, you've stopped the clock.
Yeah, yeah, but that is definitely going to be the least of their worries, because at this point in the game, with a scoreline of 4-0 up and 2 minutes and 9 seconds left in the game, it's unfortunately out of reach for North Florida.
So as we mentioned, just a 4-0 lead now. Florida Gulf Coast here in the second half has really opened this one up. A big boot that goes back to Patrick Gilly. He'll send it out, and that gets taken over by Florida Gulf Coast on the far side. UNF, though, able to circle. Trying to get it back to the middle. Now moving the ball up. Looks like they're trying to move the ball in that shorter pass way. Now here comes the ball, centers it. A boot, and just gets deflected and goes out.
And what we're seeing play out is the effects of being a man down. Playing with 10 men with a Florida Gulf Coast side that is already in control of the match, it just makes things so much more difficult for North Florida to find any traction in this game. And when you're playing with the man down, obviously it's going to be harder to cover spaces and to get the proper numbers around the ball. And Florida Gulf Coast has been able to exploit those spaces.
Well, we're under 1 minute left to play in this one. A 4-0 lead for Florida Gulf Coast University. The Eagles looking to advance to that Monday game against the Lipscomb University Bison, the #1 seed, and of course the hosts of this part of the tournament. So here we go, and ball be headed back the other way here with 38 ticks left in this one.
Yeah, and that'll be a match that will obviously be very competitive. There'll be everything to play for on Monday night here at Lipscomb Soccer Complex. But one thing you definitely want to make sure is highlighted is how North Florida has just stuck with this match. They played an very honest, brand of football throughout the 90 minutes so far. An unfortunate red card for them has kind of put them in a situation where this game was just out of reach. But congratulations to Coach Marinatos and his program on a successful season.
4-0 the final score. Florida Gulf Coast University Eagles poured on in the second half of this one, and they're advancing to that Monday game right here at Lipscomb University Soccer Complex to take on the Bison at 7 o'clock on YouTube here in Nashville, Tennessee. A tough game. It was a physical game, but final thoughts, Julio?
Yeah, just overall, the scoreline was fair, in my opinion. I thought FGCU was the better team. They were able to create more chances. They were able to keep more of the ball. And the 4-0 result was very reflective of the matchup tonight.
Well, for my broadcast partner, Jalil Anibaba, as well as our producer, Blake Forshee, I'm Sean Mernon. Thanks so much for joining us. Florida Gulf Coast University, a 4-0 win over UNF. They advance to Monday, 7 o'clock out here in Nashville, Tennessee to take on the Lipscomb Bison. That'll do it for us. Have a great night, everyone.